Shigeru Miyamoto, unquestionably one of the most important people to Nintendo and gaming in general. If you call yourself a gamer and don't know who he is, I don't know what to tell you. When I lived in Japan, I took the opportunity to visit some places that were important to his life and by extension the gaming world. I walked the footsteps of Miyamoto. He grew up in the small town of Sonobe, Kyoto Prefecture. Located about 35 kilometers from central Kyoto, the town is marked by a bunch of bushes spelling its name in hiragana on the side of a hill. Nice little town without too much setting it apart. Except maybe the library, which is built to look like a castle. The nearby garden also had a big bird statue, which was nice, and made me think of the movie Top Secret. Close by was a kind of a community center, which had a notice board outside for courses you could take, one of which being an ocarina ensemble. There was also the high school, which after some googling I found out was indeed the one that Miyamoto went to. See, most websites and articles just say that he graduated high school, but not where, but I found it eventually. Miyamoto used to be in the basketball and music clubs in his high school days, by the way. We got Wii Music, but when will he make a basketball game? But of course I was the most interested in the legend of the inspiration for The Legend of Zelda. I'm sure you've heard it. When Miyamoto was a young lad, he ran around the woods near where he lived and eventually found a cave, which after some hesitation he went into, exploring. Of course I have no idea where he used to live, so I just went to find some woods. But as I noticed during my time in Japan, unlike Sweden for instance, there seem to be very little forests that aren't on mountains. Probably cut down to create living space. Anyway, I found this one mini shrine, which also had a pond behind it. Thinking fourth dimensionally, if I had been little Miyamoto, this would certainly act as a Lake Hylia. I then walked up the small mountain or big hill nearby, feeling some of that exploratory thrill as I did so, besides the exhaustion of course. I didn't find any caves though. Sometime after graduating high school, Miyamoto moved to Kanazawa City, Kanazawa Prefecture, to attend the Kanazawa Municipal College of Industrial Arts. I went there to have a look as well, and well, there's no law that an art college has to have a nice looking building, is there? I don't know where in this complex that young Miyamoto used to study, but study he did, graduating in some year. Again, no source will say what year, just that he graduated. In any case, at least somewhat fresh out of college, he joined Nintendo in 1977, first making the art for arcade game Sheriff, then developing Radar Scope, which was a failure both in Japan and the West. For some reason, it looks pretty cool to me. Then again, I love grids. It can make any game better. But when unsellable stock of that game was to be converted into a new game, Miyamoto got to do that too, and the result was Donkey Kong. And the rest is, as they say, history. I shall now end this video with some history of the place that has been Miyamoto's home away from home for 42 years now, Nintendo. The history of their headquarters has always been deeply interesting to me. When I went to Japan in 2014, I of course visited and fawned over the Nintendo HQ building, which is the building I think most people associate with them, the holy site where all of our favorites were created. I was wrong. But let's start from the beginning. Not too long ago, this photo of what we can assume to be Nintendo's first HQ building surfaced. Obviously it doesn't exist anymore, but it used to be in Shimogyoku, close to or on the same plot where the stone building that I used to call Nintendo's old building now still stands. Perhaps they rebuilt it into that one? The stone building was finished in 1933, or Showa 8. This building must have been quite the upgrade for its time, but of course it couldn't house the growing company forever. In 1952 they built a factory in the nearby Higashiyama ward, which became the new HQ in 1959. In a Japanese video on the life of other Nintendo luminary Gunpei Yokoi, they showed this picture of the Nintendo HQ in Higashiyama from the Showa 30s or the 1950s. And it doesn't look very big, although there had to be more than just one building. Later on these buildings would be rebuilt, and the real old HQ was finished in 1970 according to the Japanese book Nintendo Complete Guide. According to an article from Killscreen, there used to be more buildings here, but now only the former HQ building remains, which is now called Mario Club, and they do a lot of debugging and other tasks for Nintendo games. This building also housed Intelligent Systems between 2003 and 2013, until they moved to their current building. The cube-shaped building that's synonymous with Nintendo didn't become the HQ until as late as the year 2000, or the end of the Nintendo 64 era, meaning that most of the Nintendo masterpieces weren't made there. Finally, in 2014, they built yet another building, which isn't their new HQ per se, but practically it is, as it's there they develop new games now. The former is mostly used for administrative purposes. In one sense, you could say that Miyamoto hasn't led the most exciting life. I mean, growing up, going to school, then working at the same company for 42 years isn't terribly varied from one perspective. But if he's had even a fraction of the fun making his games as we had playing them, I think he's done alright.